Greetings, friends. Welcome to another edition of This American Spiritual Life with your host, Jack Hobner. Sometimes this operation really has a public cable access television circa 1985 feel to it. Last week I shared a short story with you by Count Leo Tolstoy called Father Sergei, and as a result I got a really interesting question on Patreon, and I want to share it with you and I want to answer that question. What's up, kid? Just to recap, Father Sergei starts off this short story, an ambitious, young, striving monk, becomes a guru, finds his true calling, loses his true calling because he's a lusty mofo, quits his life as a guru, and winds up way out in the middle of Siberia doing three things: tending to a kitchen garden, taking care of kids, and making sure the sick people are A-OK. Now, let's look at my email from Mark Noble, kind of taking me a little bit to task for what's implied by in this story by Tolstoy, which is that the spiritual journey comes around full circle and you're back in your everyday world with your everyday mind doing everyday things. By the way, I'm experimenting with different lighting today on my free cable access YouTube channel here, so forgive the shadows. Okay, Mark Noble. Mark says, "Thank you. Your storytelling brought the book to life. The question that comes up for me is, why? Why do we have to go through all this just to be regular people after? Can't we just thumb forward to the ending and pick up the story there with all our fingers? Or how about a Reader's Digest condensed spiritual path or some kind of shortcut? Drugs, anyone? It strikes me that awakening or self-actualization or congruent living or whatever you want to call it comes at such a high price. Given our predicament, ego delusion, maybe it just has to be that way. And my griping about it shows I have a lot of work to do still, but I am not happy about the arrangement. All that hard work just to get a job in the garden? Could I please speak to a manager? Thank you, Mark, for this great question. Now I will fail to answer it to your satisfaction. Leonard Cohen, the great singer, songwriter, poet, and one-time guest on Miami Vice, you may not know that, was a lay monk and a practitioner at our monastery, Mount Baldy Zen Center. And he came up to me once, and we were talking, and he told me something I'll never forget. He said, I'm going to do my Leonard impression here, please forgive me. He said, I've begun to realize that the effort expended on the cushion is not necessarily in proportion to the fruits reaped, or something along those lines. And he said, but it's okay, you learn some good things here at the monastery. You learn how to get up early in the morning, go up to the meditation hall, sit down, and shut the hell up. I remember thinking at the time, no, I'd rather have enlightenment, thank you. I'm not spending the final 13 years of my precious youth trapped in a spiritual boot camp with a rogues gallery of mentally unstable, sex and protein deprived, societal outsiders, bone-crushing effort for 18 18 hours out of a 24-hour day meditating or shoveling snow or arguing with my peers, not breeding, not writing, not starting a career of any kind, missing Christmases at home with my family. Like, I'm not doing all of this just so I can learn how to get up early in the morning, sit on a cushion, and shut the hell up. Do you have to suffer for your spirituality? And do you have to put in all of this bone-crushing effort just to become ordinary? Just as a reminder, the tradition of Zen Buddhism is pretty clear that one doesn't take something away from the practice, per se. It's not about gaining anything. So there's that famous quote, before practice or enlightenment, mountains are just mountains and rivers are just rivers. During, mountains are no longer mountains and rivers are no longer rivers. After, mountains are mountains and rivers are rivers. I'll let you puzzle that one out for yourself, but it speaks to this topic today. There's also the 10 ox herding pictures. 10 ox herding pictures are a famous calligraphy series of drawings and poems or statements in Zen Buddhism. And they show a guy who's a practitioner chasing an ox over the mountains, which is a metaphor for enlightenment or awakening. And at the end of this journey, the guy winds up exactly where he started. He's like in the middle of the marketplace. And finally, to round out what the tradition has to say on this topic, I want to read you a quick koan. Joshu asked Nansen. This is from the Mumonkan, by the way, and I forget which case it is. Joshu asked Nansen, "What is the way?" "Ordinary mind is the way," Nansen replied. "Shall I try to seek it?" Joshu asked. "If you try to seek it, you'll become separated from it," responded Nansen. "How can I know the way unless I try and seek it?" Joshu persisted. Nansen was all, "The way is not a matter of knowing or not knowing. Knowing is delusion, not knowing is confusion. When you have really reached the true way beyond doubt, you will find it as vast and boundless as space. How can it be talked about on the level of right and wrong?" With those words, Joshu came to a sudden realization. So, ordinary mind is the way, according to the Rinzai Zen Buddhist tradition. But why do we, or even do we, have to suffer and struggle with meditation and practice just to realize this ordinary mind? Like, can't we just be ordinary without the intermediary step? As you may have guessed, I don't have the answer to these questions. I do have some thoughts and some personal reflections which I'll share with you. As for myself, if I'm honest, I don't seem to have it in me right now to do that whole suffering excessively for spirituality thing. In reality, I'm basically just living an ordinary life now. I have, kind of like most of us, two things that consume the majority of my existence. They are my work, primarily a novel which I'm working on, and it's taken every ounce of energy and creative effort and, I don't know, calorie expenditure that I have, and my relationship with my girlfriend and her son and our life together. Like work and the family. These this is primarily my life right now. There are moments, however, I guess, of despair, or moments of truth, you could call them, where I get the sense that my project, my book, my work, this novel I'm doing, is just gonna fail. Like that it doesn't have a chance. And there are moments when I'm hanging with my girlfriend and suddenly I see into the future and I come to realize just how ephemeral is this project of our relationship. I mean, she could meet somebody else, fall in love. The same could happen for me. One of us could have cancer, get cancer and be dead in a few weeks. I mean, these human affairs of the ordinary life, like they're incredibly fleeting. During these like get real moments of despair where my human ambitions and hopes and dreams, like they're just a cold wind blasts through and sweeps them all aside. During these moments, like my only connection with truth, my only tether to sanity is the tradition. And here's the kicker. Here's the heart of this video. All of that effort that I put in all those years makes the tradition and makes the practice my own. So if I hadn't done all of that effort and consistently doing that little effort every day now, that tether to this practice would be cut, and I wouldn't have it, and I would be lost. I would be thoroughly lost. So I think what great effort does, or what it did for me, what it can do is make the practice real for you and make it your own. Like when my Zen community fell apart after my 13 years of practice, it more or less kind of dissolved and has never really regained its cohesion. I had some really dark moments. And I thought to myself, God, were all those years a waste, that I spent on the cushion building the Zen Center, building a new Zendo, like teaching people how to sit and spending all those years at this. And then I realized, no, nobody did that effort but you. It belongs to you. The practice and the tradition and the insights such as they are, the life of practice, it belongs to you. Not too long ago, I had a really beautiful life moment. I'll share it with you. I think this moment will stick with me till the day I die. I was sitting with my girlfriend and her son, and like kind of out of nowhere, the boy said, I really appreciate your vibe. He said this to me, something along the lines of, I really appreciate how you manifest. Like you've never gotten angry with me once. And basically he seemed to be saying I offered some sort of example for him about how he might comport himself, not losing his temper, responding calmly, connecting with the situation at hand. I'm not trying to blow my own horn. I have a point here, toot my own horn. And my girlfriend agreed with him. And they're beautiful people. And they offered the best thing a loved one can offer you, which is like a very sincere compliment from the heart. And I received their compliment and was happy. And I remember thinking, well, that's just the monk thing. That's what you learn at a monastery, And it was kind of a bittersweet moment because I thought of all that time and effort and energy and life I had put into those 13 years at the monastery. And I found myself asking, was it worth it? All that time, effort, and energy just so that my girlfriend and her teenage son can compliment my peace of mind in passing before forgetting about it and going on with their lives? Was it worth it? Is this what they mean in the Zen texts when they're saying you come down off the mountain, you stop chasing the ox of enlightenment, and you wind up back in the marketplace, back in society, manifesting ordinary mind in your everyday life? Is this what they meant? I don't know. It's a question I have. I think the aim of practice, whether you're sweating it out 19 hours a day on the cushion at the monastery, or you're, flipping eggs in your kitchen for the family breakfast, is the same. It's waking up to the moment, being in the moment completely, coming alive inside your life. Just ordinary person doing ordinary things in an extraordinary or a complete way. That's the practice, I think. That's all we got for today, my friends. Thank you very much. If you enjoyed this video, please hit subscribe and like. I offer this channel for free for anyone who might find some benefit from it, or just a distraction while you're doing the dishes or whatever. But if you want to support this channel, I've got a link to my Patreon page in the video description below, as well as a PayPal link, so you can support this channel there. Thanks so much, and I'll see you next week. Ciao.